He's David Cohn. He won 5 world championships. He works for the Yes Network and also ESPN Sunday Night Baseball analyst. And I've been watching baseball and reading about baseball, and I forgot about Aaron Judge. And I looked at the numbers. His April is mind-blowing. Like it's Barry Bonzian. And I said to Fritzy, see if David Cohn will join us. Just to put this in perspective, and Coney joins us now. You get to see this on a daily basis here. What exactly did Aaron Judge do in the month of April?
Well, Dan, thanks for having me on again. Always a pleasure. I got my time zones mixed up. Central, East Coast, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. But, we'll leave that where it is. But, watching Aaron Judge since the day he showed up, I was in the booth with Joe Torre, actually, and Paul O'Neill on his major league debut. He had a massive home run off the center field restaurant, the Black Glass up in Yankee Stadium. We couldn't believe what we were seeing. And then over the years, we said, well, yeah, tremendous power, strikes out a little too much. He struck out about 40% of the time on average when he first broke in. Now it's in half. He's cut that in half. He's only striking out 20% of the time now, and his batting average is over 400. The power's still there. He's such a smart hitter, Dan. He's chasing less than ever. You can't get him to chase those breaking balls out of the zone anymore. He's hitting for a high average. It seems to me that the only way you can talk about Aaron Judge is talk about how smart he is as a hitter. He anticipates the flow better than ever. He knows how you're going to pitch him, and he's on you. He knows you. He reads you. He's getting better and better and better every year to where now he's only striking out, as I said, about 20% of the time. Major League Baseball average is about 22%. He's below average striking out now and still hitting 450-foot home runs.
But he has a bigger strike zone. I think 8 years ago, everybody talked about, is that swing going to hold up? Big guy, long swing, but it has held up. But you, as a former Cy Young winner, and you win 5 World Series titles, I want you to, you're going to face Aaron Judge right now. So first inning, he comes to the plate. How do you start Aaron Judge?
Well, he does swing at enough first pitch fastballs to where that kind of scares me a little bit. Even though he's very selective now, he gets a ton of walks, he doesn't chase, but he's still ready aggressively for that first pitch fastball. So Dan, I'm trying to get ahead of him. I'm trying to sort of get ahead with a breaking ball because a lot of times he'll spot you that. So if you can drop a curveball in there for the first strike, then you've got count leverage. And now maybe I'll try to bust him up and in out of the zone. But everything I'm throwing him is around the edges and up in the zone. I still think, you try to get him up and in. Any great hitter, if it was Barry Bonds, if it was Babe Ruth for that matter, I've got to test them up and in to see if they'll chase, to see if they can hit a fastball right on the upper right quadrant, upper inside corner. And then once I find that out, then I'm back to trying to throw breaking balls. But that's where he's been so impressive. He does not chase. The fish aren't biting for Aaron Judge this year. It's just his chase rate is top 5. He just does not chase breaking balls out of the zone.
All right. You're going to face Shohei Ohtani. What are you doing?
Same thing. I've got to try to get ahead somehow because he's very aggressive from the first pitch on. And if I were to give any advice to any slugger out there, I would say be ready on the first pitch. If you're going to spot me a strike, then I'm going to take it. I'm going to get a lot of the plate. If I think that you're going to, not swing. That's how I faced Mike Piazza in the 2000 World Series. I knew he would take a first pitch strike. So I threw an 85-mile-an-hour fastball right down the middle, and he took it for a strike, and I still can't believe it. And then I went to work. I started throwing sliders, started throwing fastballs in, got him to pop up. So that's kind of the strategy. Try to get ahead with something off speed, eventually test them up and in throughout the course of the at-bat, and then see if you can still try to get them to chase. And they're 2 hitters that don't chase all that often.
But you look at these guys who are, and I would think that first pitch, you're not trying to throw something away. It's going to be around the plate. That if I'm a hitter, I'm going to sit on something. I'm going to guess that you're going to throw me a fastball and it's going to be around the plate. That would be my mindset coming to the plate. I don't know how many hitters have that first pitch mindset.
It's a great point. I think more and more we're seeing it. The thing about analytics in today's game, every count is analyzed nowadays. You have reams and reams of information nowadays that players get inundated with. And sometimes that might take away from the natural order of things in terms of their aggressiveness. It makes you a little more information you get, the less aggressive you become, generally speaking. But with that being said, you, the great hitters can really zero in on a location, and if they get it, they're going to jump on it, and that's what we call cheating. And the first pitch of an at bat, if you're cheating on a fastball, you can start your swing a little bit sooner. And if you get fooled or whatever, you still have two more strikes to work with. So that's the pitch that gives count leverage. That's the pitch that the pitcher wants to get ahead of. And that's the pitch that the hitter wants to do damage on because it might be the best pitch he sees throughout the whole at bat.
If you could start your franchise with Ohtani or Judge, who would you take?
Oh wow! I mean, I guess the projection is how much pitching can you get from Ohtani? Well, with the injuries, what he has left. I mean, if you're going back a couple of years, and obviously Ohtani with the pitching side of his game, it just puts him above everybody else. But there is no doubt that in the batter's box with a bat in his hands, there's nobody like Aaron Judge. He is clearly the best hitter, better than Juan Soto because of his power numbers, better than anybody in the game right now. Aaron Judge, offensively speaking, is the best hitter, and it's not really even an argument.
You did well against Bonds. I remember he didn't even bat 200, I don't think, against you.
Yeah, I caught early Barry Bonds, in his Pittsburgh years, in the Mets days. So, early Barry Bonds is a different cat than later San Francisco Giants Barry Bonds.
But you couldn't make him like he had a strike zone about the size of a bread box, mailbox. And he was not swinging on anything that wasn't in that little area, it felt like. How tough was that if you miss, it's gone?
Absolutely. And the thing about Bonds is that he kind of choked up on the bat. He looked like Phil Rizzuto up there, the way he choked up on the bat at times, right? If you ever seen Phil Rizzuto and how much he choked up on a baseball bat, that kind of Bonds was that way. And what that made him so dangerous was fastballs in. He was so quick. If you tried to pitch him in and you did not get it in there, that's the ones he lost. Those were gone. Those were hit hard. They were either a line drive or a home run. So you had to be really careful when you tried to pitch Bonds inside because anything that didn't get in off the plate, he was going to have a good swing at.
What is that like when you throw a pitch and it's almost like an bleep that you threw a pitch and it's a bad pitch? The question is, what are they going to do with it?
Yeah, almost out of my hand. It's like hitting a golf ball fat. I mean, you play golf and you got a wedge in your hand from 120 yards, and you're going to stick this close, and you lay the sod over it. That's how it feels out of a pitcher's hand. It's just you're late with your arm. You get around it. It gets a loose spin on it, and you feel it immediately off your fingertips, and you're going, almost halfway to home plate. You kind of have already processed the fact that that's fat, that's hung. Watch out.
Do you have one you remember where they weren't very kind to the baseball?
Yes. I remember in the playoffs with the Yankees, we were playing the Cleveland Indians, bases loaded, Jim Thome up at the plate, and I hung one of those pitches, one of those sliders. I was trying to throw a backdoor. I was trying to sneak it over the outside corner. It came out of my hand fat, as I said. It kind of just spun in there. And it just laid out over the plate, and he hit it in the upper deck at the old Yankee Stadium. The sound off his bat, I still hear in my sleep at night sometimes. I mean, it was so loud. Only the way Jim Thome could hit it, and it was a grand slam. And we ended up winning that game. It was the clincher in the playoffs, and I think it was '98. I believe we were playing the Indians in the playoffs, and we ended up winning that series. And luckily, we scored enough runs, but. That brought him back. That grand slam from Thome brought him back, and I still remember it like it was yesterday.
And there's certain sounds. Baseball is about sounds, and you could tell when something's off the bat. You can tell when you're at the plate, and you can hear that fastball coming by, how it hits the mitt. But Maddox told me it sounds like two cars crashing when he gave up a home run. He just said, yeah, and he said, look, I'd rather you hit it 450 feet instead of 298 down the left field line.
Yeah, have you ever been in a restaurant where the waiter drops a bunch of dishes in the back and that sound when the dish is breaking? That's what it sounds like to me. I mean, that sound off of Jim Thome's bat. I mean, if kids today, if you want to see, a mountain of a man swing the bat and listen, Jim Thome's the guy to go to YouTube and watch his at bats.
Can Aaron Judge hit 400?
I would say probably not.
Okay.
He's
not going to beat out a lot of infield hit. I mean, you got to get some of those like little, 5 hoppers that you can beat out.
Yeah, absolutely. And also there is the random variance, the luck factor, right? I mean, analytics, if the one thing I love about analytics, modern day analytics, is it kind of shows you can look under the hood, as they say, and say what's kind of lucky and what's going to regress to the mean a little bit. And certainly batting average on balls in play, those ground balls that are always finding holes, tend to turn around. They start to find gloves after a while. So that's the fortune part of it. The batting average on balls in play is unbelievably high for Aaron Judge right now, and you got to figure that's gonna some of those hard ground balls are start to go at shortstops and second baseman, and he's not gonna have that high of an average on, especially on the balls on the ground.
Where are we with torpedo bats? I thought they were ruining baseball, and I haven't heard much about torpedo bats. What happened?
Yeah, I think that was just, if there'll be case studies on how do you create a viral moment, right? How does something go viral in today's day and age? That was just a perfect storm. Michael Kay set it up perfectly. The Yankees had a bunch of home runs on that day when he talked about for the first time the torpedo bat. When actuality, the torpedo bat had been out for several years, and other players and other teams actually were using it on that day. And everybody thought, oh no, it was a Yankee thing. Oh, the Yankees are cheating. And it was just a perfect viral moment where everybody thought this is brand new technology. What is this? We got to ban this. This is too good. And boom, there goes Jazz Chisholm hitting a home run. Boom, there goes Anthony Volpe hitting a home run. And it just created this moment to where everybody just jumped on the bandwagon and thought, this is new. There's something funny going on here. When in reality, actually, nothing could be further from the truth. It's like getting fitted for golf clubs. It's like a game improvement club, so to speak, the torpedo bat that gets the mass where you hit the ball the most often. And that's supposed to help you a little bit, but it's certainly within the rules. There's nothing illegal about it.
What's the highest percentage you got for Hall of Fame votes?
Oh, geez. I was one and done. I think you had to get 5%. I was a little under 5%. I think I was 4% ish, something in that range, and the dynamics of the Hall of Fame vote, there's only 10 players you can vote on. In that particular year, there was a lot of good players on the list, so I couldn't quite get enough to stay on the ballot.
Yeah, but you didn't win 200 games, which probably we like round numbers, but you were on 5 World Series champions. You won a Cy Young. That's pretty good resume.
I have no complaints. I mean, another reason why I like modern analytics is because the war ranking, whether you use Fangraphs, what these websites that sort of calculate the war rankings, it's Baseball Reference, B War, or F War, Fangraphs War. They're both a little different in terms of pitching. One's based on ERA, one's based on FIP, fielder independent pitching. So it gets a little technical, but I'm around 60 WAR, on both of those categories, and that's kind of the entry point to being considered for the Hall of Fame. But I still kind of think I'm a classic borderline guy. And when I look at my generation, I can really kind of count on one hand who the guys were. I mean, let me think: Randy Johnson, Greg Maddux, Smoltz, Pedro Martinez, even Roger Clemens. All the controversy aside. I mean,
what
I
about Kurt Schilling? Why is
Kurt Schilling absolutely is above me in my mind. Absolutely. Put the politics aside, or whether you like them or not, or morality or whatever. I mean, I'm not sure if I want all the sports writers, the guys who I hung out with in the hotel bars all those years. I don't know if I want those guys to be the moral judge, of anybody, to tell you the truth. But Kurt Schilling's a Hall of Famer.
I always thought that Pedro Martinez was underrated.
Absolutely. I think if you talk to a lot of hitters who faced him, they would say he's the toughest. Cal Ripken Jr. Ask Cal Ripken Jr. who the toughest pitcher he ever faced. And that's Cal. He played every day. He didn't miss anybody.
Yeah.
Pedro's the answer, so that tells you kind of what you need to know about who you didn't want to face, your least likely pitcher that you wanted to face. And a lot of guys would say Pedro.
Yeah, I always viewed him as kind of a right-handed Sandy Koufax. He just put up incredible numbers there. Great to talk to you. Tell Michael Kay we said hello, and thanks for joining us.
It's my pleasure, Dan. Anytime.
That's David Cohn. I think he had, 192 wins, something like that, and was on 5 World Series champions. And a Cy Young winner in Kansas City, I believe. Yeah, Paulie.
He was 194 and 126 in 17 seasons.
Okay.
Isn't that like the Frank Gore of his sport? Like, you compiled it. He won 20 games at age 25. He won 20 games at age 36.
Yeah, he didn't win enough. Like, Frank Gore is, top 5 in rushing?
Yeah.
Coney didn't. He didn't. If he had like Tommy John, to me, is a Hall of Famer. He had 288. That would be like a Frank Gore. He had sustainability for a long period of time. Don Sutton got into the Hall of Fame, I think. He was a compiler.